Alright, I'm going to talk to you guys about comic book pressing because this is something that I had a hard time finding information on how to do this. Presumably because a lot of people that do this want to keep this secret because they want to charge you $15 or whatever a book to do this. And in actuality, it's not hard at all. And the equipment that you need isn't really all that expensive either. These books have all been pressed very successfully by using this. This is just a t-shirt press I got on Amazon for $120, and it comes with this Teflon sheet that you see, which you're going to need. Now, when you buy this, one thing that you're going to want to check first, because the equipment is just for t-shirts, you're going to want to feel the heat plate in here. I got a book in here, so I can't lift this up. But you're going to want to feel this heat plate for casting imperfections. There is, at least in mine, there was little dimples sticking out, and if you press a book in there, it's going to dimple your book. So what I had to do is take this plate off, 4 bolts, swing this out of the way. And then what I did is I put these bolts back on with the springs after I swung this arm out of the way. So I did not want to disturb the heating element and whatever material they have in here to conduct heat. I took it to my garage and I sanded it with 1000, then 2000 grit. It took all of the imperfections out and made it very smooth, and it didn't take long. The material that the heat plate is made out of is not very hard. The other thing that you're going to need is this cheap yet effective humidity chamber for the books. The heat press alone is not going to get everything out. It'll get some stuff out, but if you have a book that's really rippled up and wrinkled, like this Iron Fist was Marvel Premiere 15, the book was in rough shape. There was wrinkles all over it. I think I have a picture of it. I'll post a picture. And the press alone is not going to get all that out. It'll fix spine rolls, things like that. But you're going to need this to make these covers look like glass when it's all done. So all this is obviously the plastic tote. And you're going to need to get this. This you will find at your box store in the lighting section. It's going to come in a 2x4 foot sheet, and it's about $13. This is a lens for a fluorescent fixture. You just need to cut this down to whatever size plastic tote that you get. You just fill this up a little bit with water, room temperature. I just have some fittings in here. That's just what I had to suspend this piece. Put that down. The other thing that you're going to want is this material. This is key. It's 100% poplin polyester. I couldn't find it in any stores around me, so I had to order it on eBay. It was under $5 shipped for a yard. This prevents your book from getting wet, prevents any moisture from coming up and dripping on your book, but it allows the humidity to circulate inside here. So you just put this down, put your book in there, put a lid on. I usually put a short box on it just to keep this lid tight. And you're going to want to leave your book in there for a minimum of 4 hours. I've left them in longer. I've left them in overnight. Just 4 hours seems to be the magic number. And then when you get it out, when you're done, when you take this lid off, you're going to notice that the pages are starting to curl slightly. And you're going to be able to tell just by looking at it that there's a lot of humidity in the book, which is what we want. And then I use this cloth as kind of like a saddle to lift it up and put it in here, just so I don't have to touch it, risk hurting the book. When you go to press it, you want to make sure the machine is heated up to 165. What I have on here that you can't see on the bottom is I have a piece of 14 gauge aluminum that I cut to size. And the reason I did that is so it will press the front and back cover. Even though there's no heat on the bottom, there's just heat on the top. But after you get it out of the humidity chamber, it will flatten out both sides. And this just saves a step from having to flip the book over on the other side and do it all over again. You have the sheet of 14 gauge aluminum. Then I have a piece of Teflon. And then you put your book. Sometimes I put a backer board on the staple page, and that just kind of creates a more of a natural arc in the book. I've done it both ways. Just depends on how you want to see it. And then on top of that, another piece of Teflon. Push this down. You want some resistance when you push this down, but you don't want to push too hard. 165. After you push it down, count to 5, turn it off, unplug it. And I don't really have a time frame that I've narrowed down yet to leave this in here, so I've just been leaving them in for about 12 hours or so. You may only need less, I'm not sure. I haven't experimented with any shorter times. So I just usually leave it in all day or overnight. First step, which I didn't touch on yet, is if I have to clean it, I just use this kneading eraser, which is a couple bucks at any art craft store. Just be careful with that. I have matted the gloss covers. I tried this on some older books that it didn't really matter what I did, and I didn't notice it right away. In the right light, you can see where it took off some of the gloss on the cover. I think I was pushing too hard. I haven't repeated that, but I've kind of been staying away from the covers unless I just have to spot clean. I've been doing a lot of the backs, the back pages. If it's white, that seems to be where a lot of the dirt accumulates. So step one would be that. You don't want to press in the dirt. So this would be one. This would be step two if it needs it, if it's got a lot of wrinkles in it and a lot of ripples in the page. I put humidity chamber except for this one. This is the only one that didn't really need it. The Marvel Premiere 15 and the Amazing Spider-Man, they were the worst. And they both came out like silk. You can't even tell that there was a wrinkle in there anymore. The next one I'm gonna do is Hulk 181. That's the last one. This is kind of like the first phase of stuff that I want to send off to get graded. I bought all this stuff in the early 90s. All this stuff most of it I paid cover price for. The Iron Fists, I think I paid a couple bucks each. This I got for $25 in 1991. So I want to send it off and see what kind of grades it's going to get. Okay, let me just show you a couple other things, quick things that I forgot about. I got a lot of these ideas from another YouTube channel, some guy with a beard, I can't remember his name. So I just kind of modified things a little bit here and there. So I want to give props. Wish I could remember his channel, but thanks, dude with the beard. What I do to get out a lot of spine ticks that don't break color is I use an iron. Yep. Piece of Teflon and some backer boards. This new Teen Titans had a few in here. It wasn't bad. There was none that broke color, so I knew I could iron them out. What you do is you want to push up the cover from underneath. You want to push this spine up so you can go over it with the iron. You need to use a backer board to prop it up. This particular one I had to use 2 because the indentations were so deep. Just gently put 2 in there. You don't want to stress the spine too much. But 2 did the trick. 1 wouldn't work. It got some of them out, but it wouldn't get. There was two deep ones that it wouldn't completely take out. So I have a backer underneath it as well, just to protect it a little bit. You just put this over it and gently, I already did it, so I'm not going to do it again. I'm letting it cool down. And gently take the iron over it. You don't want any steam in it. You'll just make sure it's just heat. I have this iron about halfway up, but just play with your iron, because all irons are, well, not all, a lot of irons have different wattages, so just experiment with yours, but I have mine about halfway, and it seems to do fine right here. So just gently up and down the spine for a few seconds, take it off and check it. Let it cool a little bit in between each ironing. You don't have to wait too long. Just the time that it takes you to take the iron off and look at it is enough time to let it cool down. And then go over it again. It just depends on how deep they are. Usually on average I probably go over it 4 or 5 times to get all of them out. And then what I do is I leave this backer board in until it's completely cool. I've taken them out when they were warm, and sometimes the spine ticks come back. So just leave it in until it's completely cool, and then flip it over and do the other side if need be. Also, what you can do, sometimes there's wrinkles right on the edge of the spine, right in here, that are hard to get to. So I just hang it over the edge slightly, leave the backer board underneath it for some rigidity, and I'll drape this piece of Teflon over it. Use this just to place my hand over it so I don't make any more indents on the book. And then I'll take this over the spine this way and just kind of rock it back and forth to get out wrinkles on the spine itself. Might not get out all of them, but it does get out some, just depending on how severe they are. Alright, I keep adding to this video because I keep experimenting and getting new ideas and finding out things I'm doing wrong. So one thing I've noticed is that in these newer books with these high gloss covers like this, is sometimes, not all the time, maybe, I don't know, 1 in 10 books, the pages stick together. So what I did is I ordered some more Teflon. This stuff is cheap. I got 3 16 by 24 pieces for under $10 shipped. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a few of these out. Now, since the heat is just on the top plate, what I'm going to do is cut a few of these slightly bigger than each page and put them in like so on the books like this with the high gloss. I have not had it happen in an older book with the more papery pages, like newspapery pages. That hasn't happened with any of those. And it seems to just affect maybe like the first 2 pages. So I think I'm going to put one behind the cover page and then another piece of Teflon on the second page to stop it heating up so much that the pages stick together. And what happens is they're going to stick together. It might not, but it might. I've had it stick together to the point where it pulls the ink. Sometimes it comes off and unsticks fine, but I had it happen on 2 different books where it literally pulled the ink off. So I think this is going to solve my problem, just having this Teflon in the first 2 pages. Okay, experiment with this stuff, guys. Go get some free books. My local shop gives away free books every Wednesday for just being there from the 50-cent bin. So experiment with this stuff. You can save a ton of money pressing your own books. Thanks.